Yeah, they're a worldwide company, basically. But yes, I've definitely opened to being a manufacturer around.
Oh, yeah, the section you won't
It's a little bit, you're more or less working with contractors.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everybody's been here with the exception of you two folks, right? All right, just a couple of logistics. If you want water, it's out there, and the restrooms are down that way. Okay. We're glad that you're here tonight. Peachtree United Methodist Church Career Ministry meets the first and third Mondays of each month. We have one more meeting left in December. There are flyers over here to pick up. An outstanding speaker, and I'll talk a little bit about that after tonight's outstanding speaker speaks. Tyrone Griffin's going to give you a little bit of his background. I got to know him at RUMC, he's a volunteer there, table host as am I, and I know he has an interesting story to share with you. So we're going to let him give you a little bit of his background. Sorry.
Well, first of all, thank you all for coming. I know a couple of you, seen you a lot of the meetings. My name is Tyrone Griffin. I've been doing the speeches, motivational speaking for people in transition for a little over a year. I got into it because when I was in transition, the thing that got to me the most, it was not job search, it was the transition. It's waking up every day and hoping today is the day and it not being the day, and you go to bed that night and got to wake up again tomorrow and hope the same thing. So at some point I realized nobody was talking about this stuff. And I said, well, God said talk about it. So ever since then I've been talking about it. I got a podcast I talk about, I'll get into that later. But I was in transition for 15 months, 5 days. Not that I was counting, but that's how long I was in transition. And when I landed, one thing I always said in transition was I try to help everybody out because so many people helped me just get through it. When I landed, it didn't change. The reason I was able to land a job was because somebody helped me. Somebody called me and said, hey, here's a job that you might want to look at. And then they went and got my resume and they walked it over to a hiring manager. And from that conversation, I ended up with a job. Totally different industry. That's something to think about. People think about, well, should I switch industries and, should I not, or should I try to stay where I am? My background is a lot of years, I won't say how many, but a lot of years in the insurance industry. I'm in hotels now. Totally different industry. But you've heard people talk about your transferable skills. That's what I'm using, my transferable skills. Bottom line, I convinced them I knew how to count. When I was in the insurance industry, I used to count claims. Now I count web pages, but I'm still counting. So it was those transferable skills that I was able to convince them. So don't let anybody tell you that they aren't hiring out of their industry. I'm in internet search now for a hotel company. I was in insurance, totally different industry. So with that, I'm going to get started. I apologize. I usually have my computer hooked up, and I got some really cool slides. But tonight we're just going to have the conversation without them. I'll be able to see them. But in a few days, I'll probably put this up on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. We'll talk about that later too. And I'll put the slides in there so if you want to see them. So the topic tonight, the presentation is called, Are You the Cream or the Crop? Diligence in transition. Again, we're not going to talk about job search. We're very little about job search. We're really going to talk about transition. So the first thing I want to do, I want to take a survey, by show of hands. This economy is pretty bad. By show of hands, how many people think we're in a recession? Okay. How many people think we're in a depression?
Pretty close to it.
Okay.
Close. Not quite there, but.
Third choice. How many people think we're in what I call a giant bucket of suck? Pretty much, that's what it is. This is bad. Me and you were talking about it earlier. I've been through a few recessions. And my feeling was always with the recessions, if you have a job, the recession doesn't really impact you if you're working. This one is different. People with jobs, you've been hearing them say it for the last year, you know, money's tight. And if you're looking for a job, it's hard to understand how somebody with a job can say money's tight. Especially when, last Friday morning, or 2 Fridays ago, everybody was out there shopping, you know, like crazy. What's happened is, before this recession hit, a lot of people overextended themselves. Talk about keeping up with the Joneses, everybody was doing that. And all of a sudden this recession hit. So now you got people who are already in a hole, and then you lose your job. Or if you're in a hole and you don't lose your job. And now you see Walmart and places like that all of a sudden doing layaway. You know why they're doing layaway? Because some people say, well, I can't use my credit card anymore for whatever reason. And they say, no problem, fine. Just come lay it away, which is pretty much the same as using a credit card. You pay a little over time to get the item. When we all land and we all get back on our feet, one of the lessons we ought to learn about this now. Because how many people here, Capital One, what's in your wallet? All these credit card companies, when you had money, they were your best friend. And now that you're in transition, like, okay, I need to use this credit card to keep the roof over my family's head. And you call them up and say, hey, can you raise my limit because I need to pay my mortgage? No, we're not raising your limit. We're lowering it. Are you out of work? Oh, we're lowering your limit. Banks and credit card companies do not lend money to people who need money. They lend money to people who can pay it back. But they never said that when we were working. Oh, we're your friend. Oh, you deserve the good life. You deserve this 40-inch flat screen. I mean, think about it as a society. This is what we did. Every Black Friday, Walmart is full of people. People died in Walmart in the doorway, and people stepped over them to get to a TV. This last week, you hear the lady with the mace, the pepper spray. She's pepper spraying people in Walmart. Why do you come to Walmart with pepper spray? Okay. This is how crazy we've gotten. And I mean, it's our own fault. But my original point is, this recession is bad. There are a lot of people who are working, who haven't been out here, who don't realize how bad it is. They can't understand why you can't find a job. I know people have been looking 2 or 3 years, daily, every day, not sitting home looking. And people that, hiring managers, HR people, can't understand why you can't find a job. There's so many jobs out there. There's that place up in, North Dakota? The one place in the country that they have all the jobs in the world. They got so many jobs, they don't have enough housing for people. Said McDonald's is paying $15 an hour and they still can't keep people because they found, natural gas? The driller for natural gas, and as a result they found oil. Something, it got ridiculous. But even then, I heard a interview with the mayor, and he said, you know what? But we're not spending this money. The people who live there in that town, they're being smart about it because they saw what happened with this one town over during the gold rush, or an oil rush a couple of years ago. So they live in cash. That's a lesson to us. Live cash. Live by cash. I mean, maybe you don't have enough money to go out and buy a car cash or buy your house cash, but once we get back on our feet, don't forget that lesson that we've learned. Because trust me, when this recession breaks, Capital One and Bank of America and Citigroup and everybody is going to be coming at us like crazy. Oh, forget about that. It's good times again. Don't forget about this. So that's just my editorial on the economy. Let me ask you this question. When you were working, how many people in here at some point in their career was called cream of the crop? Or something like it? What I want to do is contrast the cream versus crop. When you think about, you work with people like this. The crop, which is, most people, they complain about the job. How many people work with somebody just complain? Oh, I'm tired of this job, blah, blah, blah. The cream went out of their way to make the job better. It goes back to being thankful about what you have. But again, that's a difference. That was one of the differences between the crop and the cream, I call it. The crop looked for downtime when they were working. They always, okay, I got nothing to do. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to sit here and do my own thing. Here's my to-do list. My boss said, oh, I got these 10 things to do. Once I got those 10 things to do, I'm not going to tell anybody because they're not due till tomorrow. So I'm going to spend the day just having fun. The cream, go look for it. That's the difference. And see, in transition, you got to be the cream. We'll talk about that in a little while too. The crowd. How many people have been in a meeting and they talk about what's the bottom line? I say, well, what's the bottom line? The crop worried about the bottom line. The cream said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about the bottom line. I'm going to fix everything up here. I'm going to make sure everything up here is working. Everything above the bottom line. If you do that, then the bottom line will take care of itself. I say in job search, if you do all the things you're supposed to do and don't worry, and I know this might sound crazy, don't worry about finding a job, but do the things you're supposed to do. Get your LinkedIn profile straight. Have your resume to your liking. Because if you give your resume to 10 people to look at, you'll have 11 resumes. Because everybody has their own opinion on your resume. So get it to where you're happy with it. Like I said, get your LinkedIn profile the way you want it. Apply for the jobs you see online that you want. If you worry about doing those things, have your business cards, try to network with people. The job will take care of itself. Finding a job will take care of itself. But if you use that as the benchmark all the time, football team, their benchmark is, do we win? I don't care how we play, do we win? Businesses, we're making money. How many businesses were making a ton of money until they weren't? And then when they stopped making money, they realized, oh, all this stuff was bad, but we weren't looking at it because we were so worried about the bottom line that we weren't looking at customer dissatisfaction. We weren't looking at all these other things that went into making the bottom line. One of my favorite companies is Apple Computer. And the company got more money than the Catholic Church. They really do. I'm a shareholder. Everybody else was worried about their bottom line. They made their products great. They said, we're going to make a phone. We're going to make it better than everybody else. We're going to sweat the details on how the edge looks. We're going to sweat every pixel on this screen. We're going to worry about those things. They ain't worried about, we got to sell this phone. Let's take care of everything here. That's how you have to be in job search. Take care of all the details. The best story I heard is Steve Jobs, his adopted father. When Steve was a young guy, they had to paint a fence. And his father told him, well, paint the backside of the fence too. Steve said, well, nobody's going to see it. He said, you'll know. You'll know what the backside of the fence looks like. When they brought out the first Mac, and this is a collector's item, he told the team that put it together, he said, artists signed their work. So he gave everybody a signature card, and they signed it. Inside the case is everybody's signature who worked on the machine. Nobody's going to see that. But that's how you sweat the details. I always say, a test of your character is what you do when nobody's watching. It's easy to be a big donor, a big volunteer person, when there's a lot of people watching. To donate and things like that. But what do you do when nobody's looking? In job search, same thing. It's easy to do those big things and say, well, look, see, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing to get my job search, moving. But nobody will see if you sit and read your resume 20 times and make sure every period is where you want it. Make sure you're happy with it. That's a test of your character. Finally, cream of the crop. The crop, and executives like this, they walk into the building every day They ignore the doorman, they ignore the custodians, they ignore everybody except the people in their immediate circle. They walk by all those people, but they ignore them. They don't see them. The cream of the crop executive not only knows the janitor, he knows his kids. He asks them, how are your kids doing? How many people here have suddenly realized when you go to Walmart at 1 o'clock in the morning and you see them stocking the shelves, those people got jobs. You know, when you're out here looking, you start realizing, oh wow, you know, that greeter has a job and I don't. You know, we overlooked a lot of people. And it's like when you're out here in transition, all of a sudden you realize, whoa, there's a lot of people out here. You go to Roswell, walk in that room, there's 300 people in there. And you realize, all these people lose their jobs. You know, you're driving up 75 or 400, and you start wondering, how many of these people in these cars next to me aren't working? But you would never notice that before when you were working. You know what give you an example of what a cream of the crop worker really is. Anybody ever see the movie Coming to America? Eddie Murphy? That character that he played, that was a cream of the crop worker. I know it was a fictional character, but you think about this, he was a prince in his country. He came over here, gave away all his clothes at the airport by mistake or whatever, got a job as a janitor, but he was proud. You know, people say there's nothing wrong with a little hard work. There's nothing wrong with the pursuit of hard work, whether you find it or not, the fact that you pursue it. If you're sweeping, you know, our parents used to tell us, if you're going to be a garbage man, you be the best garbage man. And they said, yeah, but I don't want to be a garbage man, you know. But if that's what is put in front of you, then do it proudly. You know, do it proudly. Whatever you're doing, be proud. If you are earning a living, be proud of that. Don't let anybody make you feel bad if you are earning an honest living. That's what a cream of the crop mentality is. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're doing something to earn a living. You're doing something. You're giving an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. That's the mentality of a cream of the crop. Because there's a lot of people out here who were on top of the world 2-3 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, I went out to Douglasville. Went to a tent city. I'm trying to read my slide. Went to tent city in Douglasville out in the woods. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a tent city. It's people living in tents in the woods. And these are not the good Boy Scout tents we see on TV. No, these are, they found a tarp, they threw it over a tree. They found another tarp, they wrapped it around. That's where they live. How they got there, everybody's got their own story. The thing about going out, and, you know, my church, we went out and we were, you know, giving them, I don't know how we came up with this menu, but it was chili or hot chocolate. But everybody out there had a great attitude. You didn't see anybody out there that was mad at the world. You didn't see them, you know, blaming somebody else for their situation. They're like, this is what it is, and we're running with it. But think about how many job seekers you run into. Because I know one comes to mind right now. I'm not going to say the person's name, but they're just mad. They're mad because for the position that they want, they think Georgia doesn't hire men for that position. And maybe they don't. Being mad about it isn't helpful. You know, I talked to some people one time. I talked about baby boomer job search strategies. And I tell you, the strategy for baby boomers, just keep going. If they are not going to hire you because of your age, your sex, your race, or whatever, then make them not hire you. Show up every day. The example I gave them was during the civil rights movement. You think about people that got out every day and got hoses turned on them and dogs turned on them. And what did they do? They went home that night, they put on a bunch of Band-Aids, put on some ice, and they got up the next morning and went and did it again. So, if they are not, if you say, well, I'm too old for this job, let me tell you something. I have a friend, who landed a job. She was out of work probably 4 or 5 months. Woman in her high 50s. And this was somebody who was at that point where she said, well, I can either look for a job or I can retire. You know, she was right at that cusp of, okay, if I sell my house and downsize, I can probably make it. So she wasn't, you know, she did what I call the hokey pokey job search. You know, put your left foot in, you take it, you know, she would look and then I don't feel like looking. Then she'd look and she landed a job. And I will admit, I was mad because I was out here working like 60 hours a week. She was working 15. Baby boomer the whole night, and she landed a job. And she landed a job where she could work from home. You know, it was like the perfect job. It's like, oh, come on.
Is he talking about me?
Well, congratulations if it is you. But, no, I wasn't talking about you, but congratulations. But that taught me something. You know, it's like, job search is like running around in a big open field trying to get struck by lightning. If you think about it, this is what you're trying to do, because you're standing here and bam, somebody right there gets a job, so you stand on that side. Lightning strikes over there, so you run over there. And then you say, well, I'm going to stay here because it might strike twice in the same place. And it doesn't happen. You know, I had a friend, you know, I have an office. When I was in transition, I had 2 offices when I was in transition. Both were Panera Breads, because they got free Wi-Fi and the bottomless sweet tea. So those are my flights. I would literally sit in Panera Bread for 6 hours a day, 6 or 7 hours a day. And a friend of mine landed her job. She was sitting next to me. We were sitting at the bed thing by the window, and she landed sitting right next to me. And I was like, this is my office. You know, you come in here 2, 3 times. I've been here 45 times, and you're going to land a job in my office. But I got totally off this subject. I apologize. I want to give you a quote. And it's called, confidence means trusting God's timing, not your own. I know we all want a job today. God's got timing for you. That quote came from a guy named Robert Heerspink, H-E-E-R-S-P-I-N-K. And he's the author of those little Today magazines where you get the Bible verses every day. He wrote that in there. And he made that quote in relation to a Bible verse where God's chosen person to lead his people was second in command to the first of God's chosen. So if this guy killed this guy, he'd become king now. But it was like, no, wait on God's timing. And I know you don't want to wait. But you're going to land a job when you land a job, plain and simple. You know, that's when it's going to happen. You're going to get a job when you get one. If you worry about that, if you get mad at God because he doesn't give you a job. I had an argument with somebody. They were mad because they didn't have a job. And I said, well, you woke up this morning, right? Yeah, so what? Okay. You know, we can't have this conversation because, you know, you're feeling entitled to everything. And, you know, I just want a job. Well, you might get a job. You might get the worst job in the world. And then you'll be mad at God because you asked for a job. You know, be careful what you wish for. My old prayer when I was in transition, and again, I was in it 15 months. And it was not 15 months of fun and games. Okay, it was not. Nobody else in the family was working, which made for really interesting dinner-time conversations. We did that. And you know, we just moved here from Connecticut 5 years ago, so I really didn't know anybody. But you got to trust God's timing, because frankly, you have no choice. But if you say, okay, look, there's somebody else more powerful than me who's in charge of all this, you go, okay, I'm cool. I can deal with it better, because again, job search is not the challenge. Transition is the challenge. Whatever you have to do to get through transition is what you have to do. For me, it was doing these presentations. You know, I talked to Reed earlier about it. My career coaches couldn't understand. They said I wasn't looking for a job because I was going out and speaking and doing these other things. And I tried to explain to them, I'm trying to get through transition. You know, it's 2 totally different things. You can job search 20 hours a week. You're in transition 168 hours a week, whether you like it or not. You say, I'm going to take the weekend off, I'm not going to do any job search, I'm going to go to the beach. Okay, you don't do any job search. But when you're sitting out on that beach, you're looking at your phone, hoping somebody will call you. You're thinking about it, about being in transition. You go to a dinner party. And this is, people who don't, this is the question that kills us. You go to a dinner party, cookout, whatever, and somebody who knows you're looking, they say, so how's your job search going? And doesn't you just want to kill that person? Don't you just want, and people with jobs don't understand why. And the analogy, I compare it to this. When people you work with say, we're trying to have a baby, we all know what that's code for. We all know don't call them at night. They come in the next day, you don't ask them, how's it going?
Right.
You don't.
Right.
You wait for the baby.
Yeah.
People with jobs who are, they're genuinely concerned. They just don't know how to express it. What they really want to say is, anything I can do to help you, let me know. But when somebody asks that, how's your job search going? There's not that many answers. I still don't have a job. What's worse is when they start trying to give you advice, because they think, well, I got a job, so I'm an expert. No, you work for your cousin's laundry or whatever. You're not an expert on job search. Well, have you tried this? Have you tried? Yeah, I've tried all that. Well, I don't see what the problem is. Why you can't find a job? That makes two of us. If I knew what the problem was, I'd probably have a job. But what gets you is, you have that 2 or 3 minute conversation, then they walk away and enjoy the party. You messed up the whole night.
Right.
People aren't mean, they just don't get it. They can't understand, well, you got a degree. So-and-so over there just graduated from high school, he got a job. You smarter than him. The one I love is people say, well, take your MBA off your resume, maybe help you get a job better. Like people with undergrad degrees are getting jobs,
Right.
It's like, no, this is such a mess, that people just don't, they genuinely want to help us. They just don't know how.
No clue.
And I say, it's like, you married somebody who was sweet and charming and lovable and caring and blah, 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 blah. And the day you lost your job, they got stupid. They became the dumbest person in the world because so do you have any interviews today? Oh, really? And it's like, oh, we're not even going to have that conversation. Well, you're not getting interviews. What's the problem? Why aren't you booking interviews? It's like, or why don't you just go door to door? And I know people go door to door, handing your resume out to every business, go down to Office Park, just give a resume to everybody. And that might work for one person. It's like they say only 5% of jobs are found on Monster, right? I know somebody found a job on Monster. And everybody was shocked. I'm like, well, 5% of jobs are found there. For somebody, Monster is a gold mine. The other 95% of us is not, but for somebody, it's a gold mine. But because it worked for that person. There's stories I heard about some guy who painted his resume on the side of a building. And somebody saw it and said, oh, that's cool. And they gave him a job. Or the guy who went to Dunkin' Donuts next to the company that he was trying to get a job at and had his resume printed on the cards, on the cups, and gave it to Dunkin' Donuts free to hand out with their coffee the next day. And somebody from that company happened to come in and say, But just because it worked for that person, there are people who do, one of the things I heard a trick people were using, and I mentioned this to some of y'all, they would take the job description and paste it into their resume, and then change the font color to white.
So you can't see it.
So if you look at it, you don't see it. But theoretically, if they submit that resume, the computer will pick it up. And we'll say, oh, we're matching all these terms. Well, if you get a job doing that, you're a genius. But if you get caught, and how easy is it to get caught? One person brings your resume up on their screen and hit select all. And all of a sudden, 2 paragraphs of text show up. Or they'll say, well, why is this person's resume 4 pages, but I'm only seeing 2 pages of text? What's on these other 2 pages? And then they realize you copied the job description in here. You're probably going to get blackballed from that company. In transition, you have to decide for yourself how far you're willing to go. But again, the point is, just because it works for some person doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. There is no magic bullet in getting a job. There is no. It just works for some person. This works for somebody, doesn't work for me. I know, and I keep jumping off. This is what happens when I have my slides to keep me on track. I'm just talking out. But first thing in transition, to be the cream in transition, first, the number one thing you have to do is trust God. Trust God. When you've been out here a long time and you think nothing's happened, trust God. If I said it before, if you believe that there is somebody else who's in charge of this, trust him. You know, one thing, people who were very successful in their previous careers, and we probably know people who were they got a promotion every year. They just were, they were the new, superstar of the company. They got promoted every year. They just ran up the ladder, and they thought it was them doing it. And then they realized when they got out here, oh, somebody was promoting me every year. Somebody else was doing that. And they realized, oh, I didn't realize. No, you didn't. For whatever reason, God put you out here. For me, and don't get me wrong, I was freaked out when I got paid off. And I knew it was coming. And they say, oh, something's gonna happen between now. I had 6 months. I'll find somebody. Everybody loves me. I'll find something. 2 days before my birthday, they threw me a going away party because I was going away. They threw me a going away birthday party. And I tell you, for me, it was just, I couldn't believe, after 20 years of working, all of a sudden I'm out here with nothing. And I look back on that, and it's been 18 months now. And I look at the things that I'm doing, and now I kind of understand. I had to see what people were going through. I had to feel it. I mean, I wish God would have just sat me down and talked to me and told me instead of saying, no, I got to burn you, for you to understand what pain is. But there's a reason that we're all going through this. You may not see it now, but when this is over and you look back on this a few years from now, you look at who you were before and after and how you changed, and you realize, oh, I had to go through that to get here. But rule number 1 is trust God. Number 2, have confidence and assume that you are great. I know that sounds crazy. Get up every morning and assume your own greatness. I'm not saying from an arrogant perspective, but assume that you are the cream of the crop. If you have to look in the mirror and talk to yourself, then you do that. But you assume that you are great. If you weren't in your last job, well, now is the opportunity you have to reinvent yourself, because nobody knows what you did. There are so many people that have gotten laid off that nobody's asking, well, why'd they lay you off? Because they know. I have a friend who used to work at the International Olympic Committee down here in Atlanta. Got laid off. Why? Because they closed the office and moved everybody to Switzerland. Didn't matter how good of a job she was doing. They closed the office, and that's what's happened. So the bad workers got covered. The people who weren't doing, and there's a few people who got laid off just because they stunk at their jobs. They got covered because it's so many people. It's like, I equate transition to jobs to going to war and dating. And I'll get into the differences later on, but it's like if everybody went to Iraq and everybody came back and got shot. When you got so many people getting shot, nobody knows who got shot because they were storming the hill or because they was running backwards. It's so many of us out here. So don't worry about, well, my last job, if they call my old boss, they're going to don't worry about it. Because worrying about it is not going to change what your last boss would say about you anyway. It's not going to change it. So whether they're going to say good things or bad things, they're not going to change what they say based on your worry. And whether you should say pray and don't worry, or worry and don't pray. I used to tell people, aren't you worried about losing your house? Oh yeah, I was worried about it. I was scared about it. But I got a good night's sleep every night. But I said, the day that it's sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, worrying about losing my house, say it's my house, then I'll do it. Until that time, I'm getting a good night's sleep. I may be homeless tomorrow, but I'm getting a good night's sleep tonight. Don't worry about the stuff you can't do anything about. So when you wake up every morning, assume that you are great and you will act accordingly. Stop asking, why me? The answer, why not you? We all work with people and we say, well, that person did worse job than me. Why did they lay me off? Well, because you can deal with it. Maybe that person had so much other stuff going on in their life that if they got laid off, they might come in with a gun. You never know. Why you? Why not you? Don't. It's one of those questions. You can sit and ponder it, or you can go out and do your job search. What's going to help you move forward? Sitting there pondering it. They say you have those 7 layers of grief you go through, of worry and all of this. You got time for that. I went through probably 2 of them. Then I said, okay, I got to stop. I got to go get a job. I got to go look for a job. So, why you? Why not? Doesn't matter. You're here. You get on the wrong train, you end up at the wrong MARTA station. Well, why did I do that? Don't really matter why. You're here. What are you going to do about it? And the 4th thing, you have to develop a cream of the crop attitude. Now, what's a cream of the crop attitude? Number 1, cream of the crop. Stay busy. Stay busy. Part of the reason I did these presentations was to stay busy. I would get up every day and go down to my office at Panera every morning. Because I could do my job search at home. But you're sitting at home, it's easy to put your head back and take a nap. It's easy to say, let me check the weather and end up watching Oprah. Stay busy. Keep doing something. We all have a stack of business cards that we've collected from other job seekers. Pull up one of those cards and just ask, call one of those people, hey, how can I help you? You would be surprised. You do that for people, and you find people doing it for you. And it's so funny, people will ask you that at the exact moment you need to be asked. Stay busy. Number 2, I'm saying, help anyone who asks you. Okay? Somebody says, hey, can you, yeah, what can I do to help you? Back in the 80s, we had this mentality of you walk in the room and you go, hi, what can you do for me? That was that mentality. It's all about me. Try to help somebody else. If you try to help someone, what I learned, you try to help a lot of people and you will be surprised how many people try to help you. The best way to get people to work for you for free is to try to help them. You'll get people sending you emails out of the blue. Hey, I saw this job, thought you might like it. So help anybody who asks you. Help anyone who needs it. Now, what's the difference between they ask you and they need it? Everybody here has been sitting at a table at C3G or RUMC or whatever, and somebody's introduced themselves and given their elevator speech, and it sucked, for lack of a better term. It was horrible. I remember I went to a synagogue when I first was in transition, and I walked in kind of late, and there was a guy there, and I didn't know what he was doing, but he was talking about when he was in high school and played football. Okay, so I sat down and listened. This guy talked for about another 10 minutes. And everybody was quiet. They just sat there and listened to him. And then we realized that was his elevator speech. Now again, I caught the last 10 minutes of it. Yeah, I caught the last 10. I don't know what went on before me. I don't know. That was his elevator speech. He finished. They said thank you, and then they politely ripped him apart. He needed it. But my point is this: you've all sat at a table where somebody introduced themselves. And they, that 30 seconds becomes like 5 minutes. And at the end of it, you still have no idea what they really want to do. Don't think you will insult somebody if you say, hey, let's meet, for coffee. go through your elevator speech. Maybe I can help you refine that a little bit. If somebody says, oh, my elevator speech is fine, okay. You offer. But just like if somebody came to you and said, hey, I looked at your resume, think maybe some things I can make some suggestions. Would you mind? Nobody here's going to go, no. Listen. The thing about it, we're all experts. If you don't believe that, you will be surprised. There are people who are getting laid off still who have no idea what they're doing because they just got out here. And you would be surprised how expert you are at job search. You know, I met somebody at Panera one time. This guy had been out of work for 18 months. He was in supply chain, which we used to call purchasing. He was looking at the classifieds. That was his full job. He was going online, he had a newspaper, and he was going online just applying for jobs. I said, okay, you're on LinkedIn? He said, what's that? I said, wow. And it wasn't that he was stupid. Nobody had ever told him about it. He didn't know about the website godel.com where we get to all the meetings. He just didn't know. You would be surprised. As little as you think you know, you would be surprised. There's always somebody who just knows less and you can help them. So there's always people that you can help. Now there are 4 B's of a cream of the crop attitude. The first B, be positive. I know that's the hardest thing in the world to do. Be positive. Because there's nothing worse than meeting a superior opportunity with an inferior attitude. You never know. Like I told you, I have somebody who's looking for a job, and every time I see them, they're always complaining because Georgia doesn't hire men for this type of job. And I want to help them. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I want to recommend this person to somebody? Because I don't know what they're going to say. And I want to help him because he needs a job. But you got to get over that attitude. So even when things, the longer you're here, what I say do, and I did this, on my 1-year anniversary, I celebrated. I celebrated because it kept me from crying. I mean, I didn't go big. I got me some Chinese food. That was my celebration. But do something to celebrate. When you get that first rejection, celebrate. When you get that 50th, celebrate. But it lets you keep moving. You know, you want to have a pity party? And I had mine. Believe me. I used to cater my pity parties. I'm serious. I had some pity parties. But when it was over, it was over. You have it. Sometimes it's... Remember you're in high school, and women probably more so than men, you broke up with your boyfriend, and all your friends came around, and you were sitting there crying, and they, you know, and they tried to cheer you up. And that's the last thing you want is for somebody to try to cheer you up. You're like, look, I earned this pain.
Right.
I want to enjoy this pain. You know, and everybody comes around trying to cheer you up. It's like, no. When you're going through this, the first thing you need to do, if you know somebody going through it, the first thing you need to do is say, okay, you know what? You're right. It sucks. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. You're 100% right. Once you go there with that person, then you can say, okay, so what you going to do about it? I met a lady at a job seeking meeting out in Douglasville one time, and she was, it was on Monday night, and she was kind of stressed out. And I asked her after the meeting, I said, you know, how's it going? You know, it seems like something's bothering you. And she was saying she was living in a hotel, and that Friday she was going to get evicted. She had nowhere to stay. And she was just messed up. And I was like, you know, yep, that's bad. What are you going to do about it? Simple question. It's bad. Are you going to sit here and wait for Friday? Or are you going to try to do something? And trying, nothing may happen. You may end up being evicted Friday. But go down fighting. I told her it was a Monday night. I said, have your pity party tonight. Feel bad, be scared, all that. Tomorrow morning, get up and do something about it. Even if you don't do nothing but call somebody, hey, can I come live with you? Do something about it. If you sit there and wait, you know, it's like you're on the tracks, the train is coming. The train is going to come through here whether you move or not. If you stand there and wait for the train, this is what the train hit you. No, you just didn't do nothing. At least try to get out of the way. Be positive. Stay positive. The second B, be a leader. Be the person you always, how they say, we're the people we've always been waiting for. And what do you want to be when you want to grow up? We're all that. Be a leader. Okay? Grab a group of people in transition and be a leader. Okay? This is your opportunity to take that next step and be a leader. The third B, be humble. I told you earlier, wake up and assume greatness. Greatness is not about what you do. Greatness is about what's inside. You can be the smartest person in the room, and maybe you are the smartest person in the room. You still have a job. And even if you did, that doesn't make you better than anybody else here. I'm thankful. I did my podcast last week on what I'm thankful for. And I intentionally didn't say I was thankful for my job until halfway through the show because there was so much other things that I was thankful for. My family, my health, my friends, the people I've met in transition. But be humble. And they say, well, it's easy to be humble when you're looking for a job. Yeah, it is. But when you land a job, remember what it was like. You hit live, whatever. Remember what this was like. And remember that you are no better than anybody else. You just had a different situation. So be humble. And the fourth B of a cream of the crop attitude, believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, I'm not going to believe in you. If you tell me, I'll get dinner, I'm going to take this gun and go out in the woods and shoot something, we're going to have that for dinner. And you say, I'm going to do this, okay, I believe you. If you say, well, I'm going to take this gun and I'm going to try to figure out how to aim it, and maybe I'll find something and hit something that's not a tree, and then maybe I'll come back with dinner. I'm making plan B for dinner. You want me to believe in you? You got to believe in yourself. And believing in yourself has nothing to do with transition. No matter how long you've been out here, believe in yourself. When you have an interview and people think, well, I can turn it on and turn it off. No, you can't. You want to sit there and sulk around all week and they think, oh, when I have an interview, whoop, I'm a superstar. No, it's not going to work that way. You got to believe in yourself every minute of every day. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in you. Nobody, your family, your friends, nobody will believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. When we were kids, our parents instilled in us, they believed in us. When we tried to walk and we fell, they said, come on, keep going. They instilled that self-belief in us. They got us to walk. Now we got to walk on our own. Cream of crop attitude means it's not about you. It is not about you. There's a Bible verse, Philippians 2, chapter 4. It says, let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. It's in the Bible. Don't worry about you. Look out for other people. If you look out for you, because if somebody's selfish in transition, we know it. We won't say anything. Somebody walks in and they're selfish, we all know. We won't say a word, but everybody will know that's somebody I'm not helping. Okay? If you look out for just you, and I know I'm not saying this in a vacuum. I know what you're feeling. Believe me, I know what you're feeling. But all the things I'm saying here is things that I did to get me through transition. And there's a guy named Steve Beacham who talks at Rumsey. He said something, and I never forget the quote. He said, a person doesn't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the way they feel about themselves when they are with you. So if you're married, think about that. Your spouse doesn't love you. They love how they feel when you're there. When you can make somebody in transition feel good, they'll do anything they can to help you. Now, cream of the crop networking. Number one, don't be selfish. I know people who hide their LinkedIn contacts. They only want to network with people that are working. Hear about people say that? I don't want to network with people that got jobs. You unemployed people that ain't got any jobs. Why would I network with you? It's like, I'm broke. So I'm just going to network with bankers because they're going to give me money. No, they're not. The thing is, unemployed people know people. That's why you network. Because, yeah, they don't have a job to give you, but the company you're trying to get in, they used to work at. It's not about the job search, it's about people. Okay, I keep saying it. There's job search and there's transition, and they are not the same things. I have some really cool slides, you guys. I'm going to put this on LinkedIn, you'll see it. I'm going to put up.
Pardon me? Are you looking for it?
Yes, sir.
Go downstairs and ask the folks down there.
LinkedIn is not the house. It's the hammer that helps build the house. LinkedIn is not the end all. When you get your LinkedIn profile, that's not the end of it. That's just one piece. You heard Jim Browning talk about it. He's been to Rumsey, and I interviewed him a couple of months back. He talks about how he had a resume on YouTube, he had a video resume, he had his website, he had all these things he was doing that were all connected together. LinkedIn was just a piece of it. So don't think that once you got your LinkedIn profile, you're done, because it's not like that. Cream of the crop networking means stepping out of your comfort zone. I am a shy person, believe it or not. I think about, I'm up here all the time talking. I'm a shy person. Get out of your comfort zone. You know, informational interviews. People say, I don't know how to talk to people. Practice. That's what you do. Just get out of, well, this is my box that I live in. Cream of the crop networking is like blind dating. The best thing somebody can say is, I have someone I'd like you to meet. That's the best thing. Somebody say, hey, and that's what they said to me. I have somebody I want you to meet. That's the best thing somebody can say. And that's the goal, is to get people to say, hey, I want you to meet somebody. The worst thing somebody can say is, leave me alone. That's the worst thing to say. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. There's 7 billion people in the world. If you don't want to talk to me, there's 6,999,999,000 other people that I can talk to. So don't internalize it. But just remember, that's the worst they can say is, leave me alone. They're not going to shoot you. They'll say, leave me alone. Cream of the crop networking means the only place you can hide your network is in a cave. Now, I was talking about earlier, people who try to hide their contacts on LinkedIn, they don't want anybody to know. I got 900 contacts. I don't want y'all to know. These are my contacts. Well, I can find any of them people by just looking up their name. Okay? And then what does that do? That just takes this person out of the loop. So instead of me going to you to get to him, and you say, well, I'm not going to tell you about the people I know. Fine. I happen to find him on my own. You're out of the picture. And not only that, don't ask me for help. Because I remember that I needed help and you wouldn't give it to me. But I know people who try to hide their LinkedIn connections. It's like, they got this Rolodex that's golden. They don't want anybody to know about it. It's like a secret. You know, secret ain't no good until you tell somebody. That's what it is. You know, your network isn't good until you can use it to help somebody. Cream of the crop networking means learning to play the game. Just like when we worked, there was a game being played in the office. Learn to play the game out here. Network with people. Be open. Help others. That's the game. Get people to come after you. And it means the more times you do things, see, humans, we love repetition. The more times you do things, the easier it gets. So those things out of your comfort zone, informational interviews, get your marketing plan together. I don't know how to do it. There's ways to learn how to do it. But do it and keep doing it. Keep doing it over and over, because that's when it makes it easier for you to do it. And then have focus. Sun Bear, who was an Indian medicine man, he made a quote. He said, I don't want to hear your philosophy if it doesn't grow corn. I don't want to hear it. If it's not going to help me grow corn, I don't want to hear it. If it's not going to help me get through this transition, I really don't want to hear it. Focus on what's important. All that other stuff is just noise. When they talk about the unemployment rate is 8.9%. So, still because they dropped, do you have a job? I say this, the unemployment rate, if it was 1%, if you're that one person without a job, it's not a good day. By contrast, if the unemployment rate is 99%, if you're that one person with a job, it's a good day. So ignore all that noise. The economy doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is, do I have a job? You know, that being selfish, yeah, that's getting rid of just, that's not letting all that noise you hear in the news get to you. There's news and there's noise. All that stuff is noise. Ignore friends who have forgotten you. People you used to go to lunch with. I have people, my last job, I went to lunch with them 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I haven't heard from them in over a year now. Okay, I'm not mad at them. I was at first, but you realize the relationship was one of convenience. Not they mean, it's just that's the nature of the relationship. So get past that. Okay. Don't worry about it. Again, worry about the things that are going to help you. When I said earlier about people ask you that question, how's your job search going? They're not trying to be mean. People are not mean. They just don't understand this. And when you land, will you look back and be proud of what you have accomplished in transition? Something to think about. When you land, will you look back at this time you spent transition and the things you did, will you be proud of them? Will you be proud of what you've learned? Of what you've done, that you tried to help somebody? And finally, some of you know I have a website called Bunny Slippers Are Evil. Because if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've got on your bunny slippers, you're not looking for a job. One of the things, I have a cafe press store. And I sell water bottles and t-shirts and coffee mugs and sweatshirts. And before you think that I'm trying to get rich off this, I'm not. I probably make $1 for every one of those things that I sell. But I want, when you land, go buy something with that logo on it, because I don't want you to forget what this feels like. You know, people do their first 90 days, and they're coming to work early. You know, they're an hour early every day. What can I do to help? And they run around, hey, anybody, what, let me do this. And they hit that 91st day, and you're like, well, I'm sad. And they show up 2 hours late for it. And they fall back into that mentality of the things that they did before, you know, when they were working before. Don't fall into that trap. Even if you see other people doing it. I work with people now who I can tell never been laid off. Just their attitude. They're good people, they're working hard, but they've never been there. You know, it's like, you can't understand gluttony unless you've been starving. You know, you go and starve for a while, you look at everything different. So all I ask is, when you land, go buy something. Again, I'm not making a lot of money off this, but I want you to have something. So that, because I got a water bottle. It's sitting there at my desk. And every day I look at that. When I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm done with this. Nobody knows. It's not due for another 4 hours. Find something to do. Go above and beyond. I found out today, we had a quarterly meeting. I found out because they put everybody's name, you know, all the new people they hired, they put your picture up there, which freaked me out because I didn't know that, you know, my picture's going to be up like that. And then they put a list of everybody that got these things called Bravos. My name was up there. I don't remember getting that. So I said to my boss, oh yeah, I put you in for mine. Cool. Made me feel good. Now, let me get my next one. That's how you think about it. Okay, let me get, it's like being a salesman. People say you gotta be a salesman in transition. Salespeople will tell you, they make a sale, they walk out of the office with that sale, and they start looking for the next one. Looking for the next sale, the next thing that they can do. So anyway, that's the presentation. Go to my website, because it's not just about the Cafe Press Store, but I have a page where I have a lot of resources. And if you go to bunnyslippersareevil.com, you'll see a link for resources. You know, there was those LinkedIn articles about the 50 interview questions that you should ask and all those kinds of things. When I come across those things, I just put a link to them. So there's all kinds of stuff there. There's the Godel website, I got a link to that. There's a website if you need insurance, where you can get quotes for insurance. And just all the kinds of things that I was trying to use in job search I put out there. There's my YouTube channel, which is presentations like this that I just film and put out there. The podcast, I do a podcast every Saturday. You can listen to it live, or you can listen to it on the website, or you can go on iTunes and subscribe to it on iTunes. It's mostly about transition, but I also have interviews. I interviewed Jim Browning, I've interviewed Hal Coleman, I've interviewed Howard Caddy about different things about job search. The reason I do that is because I got a feeling there's people all over the place who just don't know what to do. I did one show called, it's funny, you know what the most popular show I've done so far was? Couponing 101.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
Couponing 101. I look at the people because I get the numbers.
Right.
Couponing 101 was the most listened to show I've done. Now think about that. We're talking about job search and transition, and people are worried about coupons. Why? Because coupons help you get through transition. You only have a little, whatever pile of money you have, you're trying to extend it as much as possible. When I go to Publix and Kroger's now, I go and use my coupons, and there's nothing funnier than being behind somebody in line who's not using coupons, and you sit there and go, yeah, you've never been out of work. Because when you don't know where that next money's coming from, it's like $1 off coupon, $1 is $1. And listen to that show, because I talk about how, you ever see that show, Stream Couponing on TV? These people will go and get $1,000 worth of groceries for like 15 cents. But they do this full time. They spend 40 hours a week just organizing their coupons. I don't have that kind of time. But the point is, it's free money. Coupons is free money they put in the paper. The reason they keep putting it out there because most people don't use it. Fine. I don't want everybody using it, because if everybody started using it, they start reducing the number of coupons they put. I want them to put everything out there. But you go to the website, you can listen to all those shows. I have the one, what you do your first 3 weeks in transition. And the most important thing I say is hide the bodies. And I'm not saying go out and kill the people that laid you off and hide the bodies. What I mean is go out to Facebook, all those pictures that you got drunk and took, take them down. Go out to all that crazy stuff you did and left your footprint all over the web and get rid of it. Hide those bodies. That's the first thing you got to do in transition. But I've done 50-some shows. They're all free. They all talk about different things. I've had experts on there. Sometimes the experts don't agree with each other. I had Keith Warwick on about a month ago. He does the LinkedIn reviews at Rumsey. I had Keith on for a half hour talking about LinkedIn. I do all this because I think there's people that can use it. I hope there's people that can use it. But it's all free. If you don't have an iPod and you don't want to go on iTunes, you can listen to it right on the page. There's a link right there you can listen to it. So go to the page. I do a blog. I do 2 blogs, one on transition and one on investing for non-investors. I got a mailing list of jobs that I send out. Some people here are on it that I send out. I get the C3G mailings, and I get paid forward, and I get other things, a hidden job report, and I just shoot that out to people all over the country at this point. I got people all over the place. I'm on LinkedIn, Tyrone A. Griffin. I got about 900 contacts, so I can kind of find somebody almost anywhere, or I can tell you how to find somebody anywhere. I did a show on optimizing your LinkedIn profile for search using your keywords. Again, I learned that from sitting listening to somebody's presentation. All that stuff is out there. So go listen to it, tell everybody about it. The podcast is free. I'm not making a dime off that, believe me. But I just there's so many people who don't know what to do, and I'm trying to help them figure out what to do. So I thank you all, because this is a long presentation. You've been a great audience. I hope that you got something out of it. It's not about job search. This is about getting up every day. Okay. And if I can do anything, and I mean this, if I can do anything to help you guys, please just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.